Anthony Smith joins me on the show. Anthony is the head of trailers at Diary of a CEO podcast and works under Steve Bartlett himself. He's the man who creates all those movie-style trailers twice a week that we all know and love. This episode was a special one for me as it's all about podcasts, what goes on behind the scenes, the equipment and effort that goes into it, and much more. Anthony is a creative and technical genius, and I was blown away by the amount of work and time that goes into creating a perfect podcast episode. This episode really opened my eyes to the finer details and how the 1% difference can set yourself apart from everyone else. The podcast space is heavily saturated, and Anthony was able to delve into what Steve Bartlett and the rest of the team work on to ensure they create that perfect show. We spoke about his background and how he got into editing and film, his interview of Steve Bartlett and the journey to being the man who creates those amazing trailers, what goes on behind the scenes and how a podcast can be the top 1%, what it's like working for Steve Bartlett himself, and how a team can create something unique and world-changing. This was one of my favourite episodes this year, and I hope you love it too. So subscribe and share, and please enjoy. I guess, obviously we'll start, but guess for those who don't, know who your story is and who you are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Anthony and I'm the head of trailers for Stephen Bartlett's The Diary of a CEO. Essentially, my role is twice a week, 2 episodes go out, and my job is to create the most gripping, most enticing, most emotionally driven trailer that will move people from Instagram or from LinkedIn or from whatever socials and make them move over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube and watch the full thing. And also for those who are already on YouTube to get an insight of what's to come and to hook them in enough that they feel that they trust us enough to be able to listen to the full 2-hour episode.
I'm going to say you're very good because everyone when I told people I was coming to this with you, they were like, what, the person who does the cool, the 30, 90 second videos at the start? I'm like, yeah, like he's called Anthony, he's a great guy. I'm like, tell him he's great at what he does. And I'm like, I'm sure he knows. I'm sure he knows he's good. No, I think it's honestly, I've spoken to you about this before. It's very hard. And I said this to Matt Swain, who I did an interview before with, how attention is like the biggest currency to a marketer, and to be able to have that hook with like where people's attention spans 8 seconds and to be able to grab them. And like, how long are the trailers? The 90 seconds.
90 seconds, yeah.
And then, I'm sure you have metrics and I'm sure people spend longer than 8 seconds watching your trailers. I'm sure that you can see the algorithm and the stats and stuff. So I think it just goes to show how important a piece of content can be to a wider piece of content like a podcast. And I think you do a very good job. I know you've been doing it for, is it 2 years?
It's nearly 2 years, yeah.
Nearly 2 years. Okay, nearly 2 years. I guess, how did you get into that? Because you did film before. Was it production before, or was it something similar, like photography or?
Yeah, so it's one of those stories where if you had asked me at the start, probably around about the time when I started uni, this role that I'm in now would never have been what I would have chosen to do or even would have thought about doing. And my big dream was to go off and actually write and direct feature films. So that's where my background was a child actor. So I was doing a lot of theatre. I was part of a drama school. And then one day I got some horrific stage fright and I was just freaking out and I just couldn't go out on stage. And in the end, I'd done the show and it went well and everything was fine. But then I vowed to never step foot on stage ever again. It's quite dramatic for my age, but I was quite a dramatic child. When I didn't want to walk, I used to start pretending that I'd broken like both legs and start crawling on the pavement. Yeah, essentially.
That's quite smart.
I would let doctors like probably like operate on me just so I didn't have to walk to the shops. So I was quite a dramatic child, and I mean that's continued to where I am now. But around the time when I gave up acting, I found media studies, and I found a new way to be creative and to express myself. And essentially what I didn't know I was doing the entire time was to tell stories. And I've always loved telling stories without even knowing it. And I think so many people do this, have no idea how impactful it can be and how much of a force it can be to get a job, to make a sale, to make a video go viral, or to make a film, a story, a book, anything. And so what I found was that I was watching a lot of behind the scenes of films, and I was loving this creativity of all these groups come together. So that then turned into wanting to write and direct. So I'd spend so much time writing short films and writing short stories and writing TV shows. That continued over through university. And then when I finished university, my mate at the time, Joe, we'd worked together quite a few times, and we had really good chemistry, and we worked together so well in terms of the roles that we gave ourselves during the productions. And we formed a company called Red Pencil Productions. And the idea there was to bring cities like Preston and Wigan and the Northwest more to a modern way of marketing. So to have smaller companies compete with larger companies that you'd find in London or Manchester.
Boys,
yeah. And
we're still competing with them now, to be honest.
True. And the way we done that was to move away from your generic corporate video where you have Jenny at reception awkwardly answer a phone to weird elevator music and then cut to an MD who doesn't like to be on camera and just saying a 5-minute spiel about their company. We thought, well, why don't you tell a story? And then that business becomes your story. And from telling the story, then that's how you can drive action towards your site, drive action towards your product, drive action towards your service. And the company was doing really well. Our ultimate game was to start doing TV commercials, and we achieved that, I think, within the year.
Okay.
And the part of having a company is we were very wary of investments, and we were very wary of loans and that money side that you're not taught in school. Like the key components to start companies, we were never taught. So we're sort of learning on the way. And so because of that, when we first started, we couldn't afford to bring in freelance editors. We couldn't afford to bring in freelance producers, freelance camera people, freelance directors, freelance lighting. And so we learned to do everything ourselves. And I took on the role of editing. And what I loved about it was it gave me a chance to take my vision from the start, selling it to a client, all the way to the end. And I think as I went on, I found more and more love in the editing side of things. That's where I felt like that can be when you really bring something to life. You can make any decision you want. You can change the tone like that. And that passion just continued. Eventually, I left that company and I moved back to London, got a role at a social media agency that focused on film and TV campaigns. And what I brought there was I brought this continuous thread of telling a story through everyday social assets, and I wanted to try and offer something a little bit different. My editing skills were never great. Like, I'm going to be blunt about that.
No,
my editing skills, I still don't think are great.
All right.
There is unbelievable amounts of technique and knowledge that I need to gain about editing. This is why I probably never really speak to editors, because they would laugh me out of a room. Like, I don't even know the names of certain buttons or what they do or anything like that.
You work in a studio, how many buttons there are? Flipping heck.
Yeah, exactly. It's like half of them I think are fake.
They are. It's press and play and volume and stop. That's all you need. There's nothing like the gate and the...
That's the thing. And it's like... But the one thing that I did bring, which when I was competing with other editors, which I seemed to win on, was telling a story and taking an audience on an emotional journey, which then was the ammunition that I needed for when I left that role and the role for a trailer editor came up for a podcast called The Diary of the CEO. That ammunition was like my driving force to get into this role. And when I first came in, there wasn't really any brief. For the job for trailer editor. There wasn't a brief for it. There was, we know we want to sell this podcast. We don't want to do it how normal podcasts do it. What do you want to do? And so I brought my background in acting. I brought my background in writing short stories. I brought my background of making marketing videos for small businesses. I then brought my background in TV commercials. I then brought my background into the film and TV campaign world, and I meshed them all together. And that's how you eventually get to what the Diary of a CEO trailers are now, which are compelling 90-second narrative-driven shorts that take the audience on this emotional roller coaster, hitting certain peaks, and ultimately the goal is to make them click on the button to watch a podcast. And thankfully they do.
Yeah. No, I think the trailers are amazing. I think that even if, and sorry, Steve, if you listen to this, but even if like the guest isn't someone who I particularly interested in watching or listening to that particular episode, I'll still watch the trailer because at least then I can, if someone asks me like, do you watch an episode the other day with Steve? I'm like, no, but was that the guy who was like the vegan guy? Was that the guy who was like the doctor, the heart doctor, or whoever it is? At least I have a bit of context. I can watch the clip and act like an expert. I don't have to watch the episode because I can get enough from the trailer to know if I'm going to enjoy that episode or not. I'll be honest, I probably have missed on some good episodes because I've just judged it maybe based on the trailer. But I like to think the trailer is very honest opinion of what the rest of the episode is going to be like and what you can expect. But I think the way you've done it, I mean, it's given me great influence for what we want to do in terms of our trailers. We're not going to copy you, don't worry. We haven't got the capabilities or the funds, but I like the clickbait, I like the quickness of it, and I think the drama, and it is telling a story. And like I said before, we ran into Matt Swain before, and we were talking about how branding works and how people buy certain things. It's like people don't buy Louis Vuitton bags because they want to look like they want to be known for the lifestyle that people who buy Louis Vuittons have. Basically, it's same with like the clothes you wear, the trainers you buy, which gyms you go to. Why do you want a six pack? It's like, and I've said this to Matt as well. I found this out really recently. No one gives a shit about what car you drive after about a week after you've had it.
Yeah.
Only the person who cares is you, because realistically it's fine, but people, they don't care. It's a car, like it's not theirs. So why should they? But then you have to ask yourself, why have I spent all this time, money, and effort trying to get to this place where I thought this was success is, and this car is success, and this car is what's going to get me to the next level. And after about a week, you're like, it's okay, but the golf was okay too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that quickness of it. And I think I like the fact, to bring it back to like trailers and stuff, that things are so fast, and I think people like to be engaged quickly and they like to be stimulated in a quick way, because if not, their attention's on something else. And like you said, like TikTok and social media, Instagram, and you'll notice, obviously, you work in this space and how it's very difficult to grab people's attention and to keep them there, and to also to get people, and you'll notice as well, to get people to watch it but also subscribe, because there's two different things. And I know there's a lot of podcasters like Chris Williamson and stuff, they say this, like, we have people in Texas come up to us in supermarkets like, I recognize you, your content's great. He's like, we've only got like 2 million subscribers across the world. That's actually not that many people. So he's like, and then I think James P.T. Smith was like, yeah, but they probably just don't subscribe, mate. Because a lot of people, they don't. And it's another, obviously being on YouTube now, before it was like watch our episodes, now it's please subscribe, because that's what I suppose it's like an anchor for, not success, but it's a good pinnacle, or good, it's something to aim for, isn't it? More subscribers, more, instead of like more likes, more views, and more focusing on one little thing. But I think with your role, I'm sure there's lots of elements that go into it. Your day-to-days, I like to think your day-to-days are pretty similar, but they also probably change because you've got more different guests and stuff. And you're doing 2 episodes a week, is it? Or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah. So you have to be in the office quite a lot to be in the set and be able to basically meet all these cool guests, was that the favorite part of the job, would you say? Meeting all these cool people and get to have conversations with them?
The favorite part?
What is like a big, and that must be like a big.
It is.
big,
I mean,
selling point.
it's one of those. I've never been someone who gets like starstruck or anything like that. And then, I mean, even at my last role, this is when it usually turns into like some sort of weird name drop moment, which is not. It's not the case. I'm just trying to tell the story here. But even at my last role, within 2 weeks, I was in Guy Ritchie's pub with Guy Ritchie, who was talking to Thierry Henry. So I met them within 2 weeks.
Is that the one with them that was on The Gentleman? He has a pub, doesn't he? The Gentleman. Yeah, the start at the end with Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, Law of the Land.
That's it. Yeah, they have good boiled eggs. Apparently.
Yes,
Yeah.
their food's amazing.
Is it good?
Oh, it's so good.
Sweet.
Yeah. Their beer is actually is incredible.
Where
I
is
still
it? In
I still buy it. Fitzborough?
That's not near here, is it?
Don't know.
I don't know.
It's near that BT Tower thing.
Oh yeah, I know that is.
Yeah. So and then a few months later, I'm spending a day with Mina Masood, who's a live action Aladdin, and then I'm spending a few days with, or like a week or so, with Jason Statham on a film, filming all the behind the scenes for him and things like that. So you sort of you get used to like not being starstruck.
Yeah.
And especially like there's always this thing as well, like be careful like when meeting your heroes and things like that. So
That's true.
Luckily I don't get starstruck, but I do have a huge appreciation for a lot of the guests that come on. And we, over Christmas when we went to New York, we had Michael Bublé come on.
Yes, I saw that.
And it weren't so much of a starstruck moment, but it was an opportunity to tell him how much of an impact he had on me when I was growing up. So when I was going back to that acting stage, part of what you have to do is sing and dance and do tap and ballet and all that sort of thing. And when it came to singing, his music was the music I was listening to and the songs that I was singing from him. So he played a huge part in my career going forward, because it was his music that like gave me the energy and like who I wanted to be, and the way he can own a room and the way he sort of tells a story through his songs. And
Sexy Canadian voice as well.
Yeah.
His voice is so nice.
Is
he a nice guy? I'm assuming he's lovely. Yeah,
he's a lovely guy.
Yeah, you can tell. Canadians are nice people, though, apparently. I know that's a bit of a stereotype, but I think that's what they say.
I mean, if you're gonna stereotype, like that's quite a nice stereotype.
Quite a nice thing, yeah.
I don't think you can get in too much trouble for saying the Canadians
that's
are
what
nice.
I've heard. But yeah, no, I think all the mums out there would have been jealous of you. Yeah.
But yeah, just a chance to tell him that, and we had he's got a whiskey, so me and him was sharing some whiskey, and then he signed a CD for me, and then I got a hug from him in the end.
Nice.
And so it's not a starstruck moment, but having those moments
Appreciation for
is appreciation.
Yeah.
Getting almost like a private exclusive magic show from Dynamo. Not many people can say they do that. Like I'm a West Ham fan, and we had David Moyes on, and
Of course, yeah.
Jem, who's our head of booking, she had to run off by the end of the podcast. So she asked me whether I would take him to Smiley to get home. So I got an extra like 6-7 minutes with David Moyes, and we're just talking about football and West Ham. And it's like those little moments, they probably are some of my favorite memories that I have in life. And it's because they're so unique and they're so personal to me. We meet so many guests, but the ones that you have looked up to or you really, really appreciate, who have had an impact on your life, when you actually get to spend that even more time with them and you realize that there's a reason why they impacted your life, it's really special. But ultimately, just being with the team, we've got like the most incredible team ever. So
I watch behind the scenes stuff. It's good. It's nice.
Really? Yeah.
It's cool. It's yeah. But what my friend was saying when I mentioned you, and she's like, "Oh, he must be on behind the scenes stuff," and I was like, yeah, he is. And he's like, you've probably seen his face many times. And she's like, it looks like a fun team to work in. She's like, I wish our team was like that. And that's funny you say about how some of your best memories are, well, essentially from work, which essentially is most people would not say that. Most people's best memories would be with their families or their friends, or maybe college days or high school days, or, you know, the good old days that they'll say. But the fact you could say like, well, some of your best memories have come from a job, which I know it's not just a job, but, you know, it's like a contractual job essentially.
I mean, the way I sort of explain it to whenever I speak to someone younger who wants advice in terms of what career path to go on, I always sort of say there's a difference between a career and a job. A job is what a lot of people I know have, and that is, it's not something you're particularly passionate about. It pays the bills, and it tends to be like a 9 to 5. You get home, you don't think about it. You get all your weekends, you get all your holidays. It pays well. It does what it says on the tin, but you're never 100% invested in it.
No, you
have like acquaintances. You might not have great friends at the job. Whereas a career at sometimes will push you to breaking point. A career at sometimes will make you question what you're doing, but a career a lot of the time will give you the purpose to keep pushing forward in life. It will give you purpose and meaning, and that will then lead to satisfaction, which then leads to happiness, and it gives you the memories that you will remember. And ultimately with me, I work unbelievably hard. The whole team do. You know, Liv, who I'm training up to become the next trailer editor, she works so hard, and especially like with the production team that I'm in, everyone fights for each other and everyone wants to make sure. It's almost like that American saying, was like, never leave a man behind, that sort of thing.
Soldier behind.
And we don't, and that's the thing. And it's
that's nice,
but that's what a career is. A career will push you in ways that you have never been mentally and physically, but the rewards and the satisfaction that you get from it will ultimately pay off to a fulfilled life.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's testament as well to, say, like Steve, and I'm assuming he does all the hiring. Well, I'm assuming you have to speak to him before you get to work for him, essentially. But it's a testament to someone as well. Like, don't choose a company, choose a boss. And it's like, don't work somewhere because, say, like, I'm trying to think of an example. Amelia Sodell, you must have, she was at that West Business show last night. She does a personal branding business called Clout in London. And she has a team of 11 people. And I was thinking about this last night after the show. And I was thinking, like, you know, that saying of find a boss you want to work for, not a company you want to work for. She's a perfect example of, I would say to it in an interview, I want to work for you, but not because of your company, because it's cool, because it looks good, or because your personal brand is good. It's because I believe in what you're doing, I believe in the story you're telling, and I'm happy to give myself 100% to whatever you're doing to be on the same journey. And I reckon she'd rather have someone like that work for her than someone who's like, yeah, I want to work for you because, you know, it's the next stepping stone in my career to the next place. And it's like, you're small. If you've got 11 people, those 11 people need to be like your like person. You have to be completely transparent. And I think I worked in corporates for like 5 years, and they're fine, they're great, they pay well, the benefits are good. You know, I've made friends I'll probably know from the rest of my life there, and it's great. But when I left my full-time job, and I was like, it was a bit sad for a day, but it was more weird not to be employed. And then after that, a few weeks passed, you're like, you know what, I'm enjoying this more sleep, I'm enjoying this more free time. But then you realize you need to start making money again.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what's the next step? And it's like, do you want to work somewhere where it just pays the bills, or do you want to work somewhere that's going to actually fulfill the things you do? And it's like, I know people say, and I said this to you before, never pick a job you like and you have to work a day in your life. And I know it's the same, you know, same old bullshit basically, but it's true. It is true. And I think finding something you like to do, which you get paid to do, even if you get paid well, that's even a bonus. And you get to do that every day. You like, why? What's a weekend? Because a weekend is just another day. Because 7 days a week, you're doing what you like to do anyway. So
yeah, and you know, there's got to be stuff to be said. Whereas like, there was a lot of people were quitting maybe a bit too early when times got a bit tough, and I think that's something that we see more of.
Yeah,
and there's something also to be said. It's like, again, with a career, and difference between a career and a job. If you have a job and you're working unbelievably hard, you probably will want to leave because you just feel like you're not gaining anything from this. Whereas with the career, it's, you are going to have to work hard. No matter what in life, you're always going to have to work hard. And something like my parents instilled in me was like, there is no easy life. If you think life is too easy, you're probably doing it wrong. Or if you do go through life and things are easy, by the end of it, you're probably not going to look back and think it was a good life. And so, and part of that is a career because you spend most of your time working. So a career is supposed to be hard, and it's supposed to challenge you, and it's supposed to push you in ways that you never thought possible. And ultimately that's what Doak does. And that's why ultimately we're one of the biggest podcasts in the world, and why we keep growing, and why we have this 1% mantra, and why we have like such an experimental culture. It's because you're supposed to be challenged. That's how you get results. That's how you become the best that you can be. The second you start becoming complacent, that's when things are going to start going wrong.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think it's very much about, like you said, having parents that instill that into you. And I think I'm glad my parents did that with me, because I've met a lot of people my age, and let's just say I spoke about it to my friend of Oscar last night. We were in the car and we were talking about, because it's completely irrelevant. My friend Oscar works at a company called Wiser in London. Known him for 4 or 5 years, met at a training day. He still works there. I didn't get a job there. But still, and he's a great, yeah, sorry, Finn. And he's honestly one of the nicest guys I met. And I said to him last night, not in a weird way, I was like, bro, and I turned to him and I think he thought I was going to kiss him or something. But I was like, bro, I really appreciate it, because I like you because I know you're not like, you're a good person. And I know you work hard, and I know you have your priorities straight. And I say I have a lot of friends who are nice people, but then sometimes I'm like, I wouldn't want to sit in a quiet room with them for too long, because, and about with him, I'm like, I'd love to work. If I could choose a business partner, I'd pick him, because he's literally a conversation's just like clicks, and you don't get that many people. I like to think people have that with, their business partners, their co-founders, their bosses, but I mean, it's very rare to have good connections with people in the same space and doing the same things. But that was completely a topic. That was just a shout out to Oscar, by the way. But that wasn't planned either. So I'm curious, what was your first guess? Was Idril Adesanya, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I was about to ask you what your favorite guess was, and I was going to say him or Gary Vee would have been amazing. I mean, we met.
What, as in your favorite?
Yeah, if you were like, out of all the guests you had on, I was like Gary Vee, Idril Adesanya. I mean, I met Gary Vee last night. Yeah, that was the best feeling ever. By the way, I was so gassed. I was shaking like a shitting dog. But who's your favorite guest? If you, no offense to everyone else who's been on, but like, who was someone that it really resonated with you, and you've like remember the conversation really well?
It's been quite a lot. As in my favorite guest to me, or just my favorite?
To you, yeah. Was someone that you like were excited to, when you heard they were coming on, you were like really excited to meet?
I think it has to be Bublé. Just again, because there was that nostalgia element of my childhood, and how much he meant to me as I was growing up, and how much he sort of helped me in that sense. And get into, especially something like I'd consider him like ultra stardom.
He's the GOAT, yeah.
Like he's when you're playing like Madison Square Garden, you've had a pretty good fucking career. And so for him to come on, and then not only for him to come on, but for him to come on and be so nice and so authentic, and he had a great team around him, and he was really appreciative of our team, and he was very considerate, and he was just a really lovely guy. And then to take the moment at the end to spend time with us a little bit at the end to talk, and even the way he was interacting with Steve, he had a good warmth with him. He was like, the way they like exchanging, sounds weird, but the way they were exchanging phone numbers and things like that was he just really made the room warm, and so I think for that he's probably my favorite guest.
That's great. That's a great option. I mean, again, the moms will approve.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The selection has been amazing. I mean, I know you can't say the future guest, but I'm assuming this year is going to be kick-ass as well. I guess that's the plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Year on year, month by month,
Yeah.
we're looking at ways to expand, and
Yeah.
there are some ways that we probably want to take the podcast, which we've never gone before, which I can't go into,
No,
obviously.
it's absolutely
But there are some like big names and big opportunities that we have planned and that we want to happen.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what the podcast space actually becomes, because, like Chris Williamson, Modern Wisdom, he spoke about this on one of his podcasts with James Smith, and it was like, podcasting's only been really around for about 12 to 15 years, and it's only now people are really starting to pay actual attention over the last year or two, maybe. I'd say 24 months, and then even then it's still a very small market, but there's so much money in it, and like I don't know, it feels like it filters into like content creating, and they come hand in hand, right? Podcasting, YouTube, content creating, personal branding, it's all under one kind of umbrella. But I think to have that capability to take something you enjoy and take an idea and turn it into something so big, it's just like it's when I think about like the journey here for myself, I can't even think about next week because this week's already too overwhelming to think about. Like I think I got 4 of my dream guests confirmed like over the last 2 weeks, and it took me 2 years to get them, only because of pure happenstance of like messages came here or applied at a certain time or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they all got back to me within like the first week. I was there like, I don't know if I could, this is too much. I wasn't prepared for a yes. I was prepared for an ignore or a no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh wait, they actually I want to meet these people. I'm like, I wrote like Gary Vee, I wrote his name down 3 years ago, and I was like, I want to do a podcast with Gary Vee. Went up to him, gave him a gold envelope with an invitation in, personalized, handwritten, gave it to him. I was like, I'll fly to New York next week. Just say the word. Just give me a time and a day. I'll use all my air miles. Like I'll literally, because but the thing is, I would not do that for anyone else. I mean, probably my girlfriend, if she's definitely watching this, but I wouldn't.
As in, you want to interview your girlfriend?
No, as in like a flight, like this. She's lovely, but I don't think she'd want to talk about herself. So, but no, I think that's the thing. The commitment to what like he has said to me, like he's done to me, or like the influence he's had, like the Michael Bublé of You, and like the content he has. And I think I even said to him, like the piece of content that I enjoyed the most is probably his least best performing. It was more of a joke content on YouTube he had, and I said to him, like I made a joke and he was cracking up about it, and I was like, but that for me, that was what made an impact. And I think I just said to him, like, I appreciate you. I think you're great. I think you've got good content. I enjoy your message. I like that you're not bullshit and it's not fake. Everything you say and do is you. But yeah, if he was like, yeah, come meet me next week, I would drop everything. I would fly all the way to New York. And like I said, I wouldn't do that for anyone else other than like my girlfriend if she asked me to come meet her somewhere or something like that. But I think that when I thought about it, I was like, the fact that I have to think about it. But then maybe a year ago, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, but I don't know, because, overthinking it all. And now it's just like, yes, just do. Say yes, figure out later.
Yeah, definitely.
And like...
That's how I got this job.
Yeah. I've been flagging my way for life every single day. Like I tell people all the time, it's like, we're going to be, going to Dubai and Boston, and like the team's excited. The team is me and my hairdresser, who's also my producer. But they don't know that. But it's fine. It still works. I'm keen to know what it's like working with Steve, because obviously I know you have a very good relationship with him. You see him on a daily basis, pretty much speak to him on a daily basis. I know obviously a lot of people who listen to this will probably listen to Diver CEO like most people, with any sense, because it's a great podcast. But yeah, what's it like to have him as a boss, I guess, and just be able to interact with him and like watch him work? Because obviously he's a very unique person. He has his very unique way of thinking, and he's very like perfect with like the little things. He focuses on the little things, I notice. And I guess, what's it like working with?
The way I sort of described the company in a sense, and the way I described a career, he sort of is the embodiment of that, in a sense that what Steve wants is the absolute best. And he knows with the people that he's brought in that he can get the best. And so he will keep pushing you because he knows that you can always improve. And this is again where the 1% thing comes in. And so he will push you as far as you can keep going to achieve. And I think that could break a lot of people, you know, in some sense. But ultimately then they're not doing what they want to do. And so what he's done with me is he has kept pushing me. And now when I compare the Israel Adesanya trailer to like the Thierry Henry trailer, in like if you look at the timelines, they're much grander. They're a lot more intricate. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Cool.
I struggle with that word as well.
They're a lot more detailed. There's so much going on, and ultimately though, it's not from just me throwing stuff in. That's everything that I've learned through this journey that I've gone on for the past nearly 2 years, of all these little elements to craft what I think, with this 1% every day, of all these little elements that I feel craft a perfect story and craft that emotional journey that I want to take the audience, to the extent where I can justify every single aspect of my trailers, every single sound effect, every single visual, every single moment, every single hook. I can happily justify it. And the reason why I can do that is because of him. It's because he's pushed me in ways where he always wants me thinking, what if we do this? What if we do that? And that's where the experimentation comes in. And so that, in that sense, it's a very challenging role. Every single trailer that I start, there is that moment of this imposter syndrome panic of, oh my God, everyone's going to find out I'm a fraud. Everyone liked that trailer. How the hell am I supposed to do this trailer? And I sort of freak out a little bit every single trailer without fail.
Every week.
And every single one, I'm always like, this is so hard. The next one's got to be easier. And then it gets to the next one. I'm like, oh my God, this one's so hard. Why can't it be as easy as last week's? And that's because I'm just keep pushing myself to achieve it. And so for that, it is very challenging, and it pushes you in ways mentally and that you never thought could be possible. But ultimately, just spending time with him, all that worry, all that stress, all that anxiety just washes away when you sit in front of him, you show him the trailer, and he just talks to you about the amends that he wants, the reasons why. He asks you why you're doing this, and you justify it, and he agrees with you, and having that conversation. And he's got an amazing ability to bring out the best in people. He's got an amazing ability to understand people and to listen to people, and he wants the best for the podcast. He wants the best for his companies, but I believe he wants the best for his team, and he wants the best from us in a sense that he knows that by pushing us and to keep us learning and to keep us experimenting, that we're going to end up in a place eventually where we're so proud of what we're doing, but that it's not that mountaintop where we're going to stop and look back and go, I've done it now, this is amazing. That mountaintop will keep going and going and going and going. And I think that's quite an exciting journey for it. But also something to be said is that he pushes you hard, but the rewards that you get from it is incredible. And he's very generous with everything, really. It'll be like, even like the materialistic things, which don't really matter, but it'll be things like when we go off into New York, it's such a busy schedule for us because we're recording guest after guest after guest after guest. There's hardly any breaks from me. I'm editing non-stop. And he'll just go, okay, let's go and watch a basketball game. So then he'll take us all, and then he'll treat us, and then for that evening we'll watch the basketball, and then we'll just have some food, and then we'll chill. And it's like, this is probably an experience that I would never get. And we're going on a skiing trip soon. He took us to Ibiza was it last year?
2023.
Or was it the year before? Oh no, we had another retreat before that, and then I think we went to Ibiza the year before. But so like he wants to treat the team, and he's always treating us, and he's So ultimately, he pushes you, but he rewards you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you really want from a boss.
Yeah, no, I think it's a testament to a boss that, you know, he knows what his team need and want, but he knows what to get out of them, not in a bad way, but like he knows like how the best value he can get out of his employees. But then he also appreciates it to the point where he knows how to give value back. And I think there's a lot of, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to speak about other companies, other jobs, but I know a lot of bosses of my friends who have told me the horror stories at the pub of like, there's no respect, the content's amount of hours, the pay is rubbish, they expect the world from them, there's like give. No, it's take, there's no give back. It's like, you know, they always talk about like yearly bonuses, but it turns out the whole thing was just actually a computer that works it out. It's not actually, you can do the bare minimum and then someone else could do the best work ever, you'll still get the same pay. And it's like, well, why am I killing myself? And I think with a lot of places, especially in corporate roles as well, where you can kill yourself, literally bending backwards to like impress someone, and you could literally just do the same job the year after. Do that in a startup. If you do the same mentality of that in a startup, bro, you'll be the co-founder within 2 years. Because if there's a team of 10 people, if you're shining out against the other 9 people, they're going to trust you more. But you work in like a company of 5,000 people, you leave the next day, you're replaceable the next day.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be like a card, a few drinks, see you later. Yeah, remember that guy who worked in marketing that one time? Yeah, he was a bit of an arsehole. But yeah, and you got someone else now, and it's just a cycle, and I see it all the time. Yeah. And it's just, it makes me sad. It makes me sad that people aren't valued in their job.
And ultimately, it's a lot of it, there's also, it's down to you, and the responsibility is on you. So, again, like with Steve, he'll push you. You don't have to. No. If you really don't want to, you don't have to keep pushing yourself. You don't have to keep seeing the quality that you can get. You can sort of start settling, but you'll probably get left behind because you can either be good or you can be great. So many people are so good at what they do, but not many people are great at what they do. Yeah. And if you want to be great, if you want to achieve, for example, with podcasts, again, you can't become one of the biggest by being good. Because there's so many good podcasts, so many, not as many great podcasts. And the way you become great is you have to sweat the small stuff. You have to outthink everyone else. You have to come up with the ideas and allow people to copy you. And then when they're copying you, you either look back and go, is there something different we can do? Or we might be on the right track with it. And what we're doing is working, but how can we elevate it? And that's what we do in every phase of the company and every phase of our work. And that's why I believe DOAC is great, and why the company is great, and why the culture is great, and why the people we bring in are great.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think we've just like all that, those literally, like you said, those 4 things. It's like, it's very easy to be a company that makes lots of money or a podcast that makes lots of money. But then if they treat their producers like a piece of shit and they stress them out and they're quitting, then it's like, well, why would you can't be proud of the content, but what do they take to get there? It's like, I know Steve always says that you cut down the rainforest, and then 10 years later you come back and try and build it again. It's like, well, you've already made the mess. You've already done the damage is done. And I think, I mean, I'd love that. That'd be like the biggest compliment if someone's like copied my marketing tactics or podcast tactics. I'm like, yes, we're doing something right. We're doing something right.
It's actually quite scary at first.
Is it actually?
Yeah, I always thought I'd love it. And then when I started seeing it, I started shitting myself because I was like...
You're annoyed? Is it annoying? Or is it flattering a little bit, but also annoying?
At first you're annoyed because... Yeah. Well, for me, at first I was annoyed because you're like, I've done so much hard work. I've gone through 10, 12 years of building this that I didn't even know, but I've come and I've built this and I'm so proud of this. And then you just come along, watch it and go, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to do what they're doing. So at first you're annoyed, but that annoyance then very quickly turns into a bit of fear. It's like, oh shit, what if theirs are a lot better than mine? So then you get the fear. It's almost like going through a breakup. There's like these weird stages.
What, to get someone better?
Yeah, exactly. And so, but then ultimately you get to a place where we have big podcasts doing trailers, how we're doing trailers. And if you take a step back, which I've done, and you look at it objectively, it's like, hold on. For someone like me who I was never dreaming of becoming an editor. I never learned editing. I'm completely self-taught in that sense. Still learning, still don't really know exactly what I'm doing on the editing front. I just feel like I can tell stories and I love telling stories. For then to have people go, we like your work enough that we want it to elevate our podcast is a massive compliment.
Yeah, it's testament to the hard work.
Yeah, and then I get people on LinkedIn now and on Instagram, and they're sending me examples of trailers that they've made for their podcasts, and it is a very humbling experience and also really lovely experience to see people are learning from you.
You reply?
I try and reply as much as I can.
I was just curious. I wasn't sure how people navigate the DMs. I'm just very curious about how it works and stuff.
I try to as much as I can. I'm at this weird stage in my life where I'm trying to implement a 1% that's been really successful in my work into like my personal life. So I'll have set amount of times to reply to things. I'll have set amount of times to do this. And ultimately, if it's not something that can give you the full value in that moment in time, then I can't do it. So that's then fair. It sort of delays certain things.
You'll be getting DMs from me soon about it. So listen, we have this trailer.
Yeah. Don't worry. You're in the favourites.
Yeah, I'm in the circle of trust.
You're in the circle of trust. As long as it's my trailer.
Yeah. But yeah. Your name will be on it. No, that's absolutely fair. I mean, I have a few more questions, but I mean, for me, curious as well, and I'm sure you'll have a bit of an insight, but what do you think the future of podcasting will look like in, say, 5 years, 10 years, or just in general?
I mean, podcasting isn't going away soon. It's just going to grow and grow and grow and grow. I think there's a level of trust that people have with podcasts that they lost with the media in general.
You mean like the news?
Yeah, things like the news. I mean, there's huge statistics where less and less people are trusting the news. There's this whole thing with like cancel culture. So people don't know what they can say or what they can't say. And I think part of the problem is with like these daily shows and like breakfast shows when it comes to interviews.
I thought loose women.
With like with these interviews with guests, which guests we've then had on the podcast, and you can see the sheer difference between them is they get their 5-minute slot for an interview. You can't really gauge much from 5 minutes, and the stories that they want to tell are obviously big stories because that's why they're on the news. That's why they're on these breakfast shows. They deserve the care and the attention and the time to just talk. And that's something podcasts do that I don't think any other medium does. Even documentaries. If you look at a documentary, there's very rarely a documentary where it's just two people talking. That's a podcast. You know, a documentary is very much loads of different people talking. You've got the story arc overall. There's reenactments, or there's like all this stuff going on. And a podcast allows one person or two people to just sit down for an hour and a half to 2 hours or 3 hours, something like 4 hours. That is too long. Yeah. To just talk and to share their ideas. And that's when people can really understand. Obviously, my challenge is I only have 90 seconds max. So I've got to condense that into 90 seconds, but give enough value to make people want to click on it and to make sure that obviously we're doing the guest justice and we're doing the episode justice. And so that's where it's tricky for me. But that's where I think podcast is going in a way that people are trusting it more and more and more. And I do think it's going to become the new source of the news. I think
people trust it more, don't they? They said, I know what you mean now. They were like, is it 60% of UK people trust the favorite podcaster more than they would trust like BBC One or Sky News or something like that.
Well, there you go. And it's like, and I think the guests that you bring on trust it more because they have a chance to actually share their ideas.
Credible like people getting on. Then
exactly.
Why would you trust them compared to, I don't know, someone? I don't watch the news.
Yeah,
I actually don't watch the news. I use Twitter for my news.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like with Piers Morgan, I actually have quite a lot of respect for his craft because what he can do in a 5-minute interview is, I mean, you couldn't get that in an hour and a half podcast because you would have no idea what's going on.
No.
Both of them would just get bored. And so the format really don't work. In the 5 minutes, what he managed to do that's why he got so famous and that's why it became such a huge breakfast show, was having these arguments, etc., etc. But then if you watch him do hour-long like documentaries or like almost like the This Is Your Life, Piers Morgan life stories type thing. The interview style is completely different. And he's allowing people to talk. And essentially what you're doing is bringing that into the mainstream more and more and more. And there will come a point where it's sort of meeting a nice equilibrium of people wanting to get healthier, wanting to go out more, wanting to go to the gym more, traveling to work more, because we're sort of getting scared of this whole idea that we're all dying early and obesity rates increasing, blah, blah, blah. And so it's a perfect form to listen to do that, to do long car journeys, because families are just moving further and further away from each other because of house prices, etc. So all of these sort of all these changes that happen in the world are actually leaning towards the podcast format. Which is good. Something I've just thought of. I have no idea if that's true, but
that makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense to me.
The whole commute thing is very like I think I said this before as well. I'll pre-save pods for a 4-hour trip to London because I don't want to be driving down M62 M1 having to like Chris Williamson. I'll save a few and I'll just go 3 hours, boom, 3 hours of podcast, 3 hours there and back. That's 6 hours of content while doing nothing.
Yeah. I used to live 4.5 hours away from my parents. I used to drive over maybe every other weekend. And it's a long journey, 4.5 hours down and then 4.5 hours back.
Music only gets you so far.
Well, this is the thing. And I didn't really know too much about podcasts. And so I'd listen to music and I got so bored. Eventually I just switched on the radio and I listened to radio plays. No idea what was going on. I didn't even know they existed really. And I had no idea but it was something different. But my mate Pavan, who lives in Manchester, his family live near me. And he says when he comes up and down, he listens to podcasts. And now he's getting to the point where he listens to podcasts when he's doing the cooking, he's doing the podcast, and it offers something completely different to what Netflix offers or what the news offers.
Radio, music, Spotify. Well, obviously it's very combined, but still. It's an interesting world. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. And I'm glad you could come and join me today and talk about it. That sounded really creepy, actually, when I said it like that. It was like a little bedtime story. It's like, come on, children. But I really appreciate you coming today, and I always had a good chat with you. So yeah, thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having me,
man. Yeah, awesome.